Hello. Today I want to talk about something called Aiki, which is found in the art of Aikido. Aiki is translated often as harmonizing energies. In Aikido, we practice this with two practitioners, and the idea, briefly said, is that these two people come together and they interact in a harmonious way which brings no harm. So you see that harmony, no harm. Maybe not quite true, but pretty true in the bigger picture. So I'm thinking about this Aiki, and Aiki is not something we create, it's something that is. Aiki exists, and it is our task to experience it and incorporate it into our lives. Which, there was no harmony there, which is Do, the way. So, the Aiki exists in nature through, let's take the example of opposing forces. Let's say, what would the forces be? Let's say, expansion and contraction. Okay, so let's think about expansion of energy, which radiates outward. And what we know on this planet comes from the energy we have on this planet comes from the sun. So the paradox is that the most powerful forces cannot exist without the weakest forces. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's look at the sun. The sun is created, or all stars are created, by little bits of matter, stable and floating in space, and over time the gravity pulls it together more and more, and that the mass becomes so great that these particles are pushed together, create new particles releasing energy. Okay, so you have this energy flowing outward from the sun, but it is not possible without this weak force of gravity pulling it together. So there's one example. Let's take another one where you have the tectonic plates. No, let's take the core of the earth, where there's iron, right? Think about this. You know, the core of the earth as we know it is molten or even plasmic iron. How did it get there? It's not like this ball of iron was there. No. Through gravity, this weakest force that we know about in the universe, pulls these molecules together in a way that they get warm, and when they're warm, they become fluid, or hot, we should say. They can become fluid, and that fluidness continues to have gravity, and the heavier elements get sunk towards the middle. Okay, so here's one example of Aiki, where you have these forces pulling together and at the same time radiating outward the internal hotness of the earth and the cool surface, creating this planet we live on. We have also this thing about life and death. We're on this planet, which some call mother, some call grandmother, great-grandmother, give rise with the sun and the water and the air to life, which is me and you and the trees and everything that's alive, right? And these things, they live, and then eventually they die. They rise up. Think about a tree growing up, 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 up. It's energy from the sun and the air and the water that makes this thing grow up. But eventually, through natural processes, it eventually comes to the end of its time, and it returns to the earth, falls down, rots, becomes into the earth, and then other things grow up out of that. So we have this rising and falling. On our personal level, we have, for example, a breath, right? So there is no in-breath without the out-breath, and vice versa. And all you have to do is hold your breath. And eventually, the opposite will come, and you'll have to let it go. So you're sucking it in, and then you're letting it go. If you try to hold your breath out, expel all your air, and hold that out, eventually you have to breathe in. So these things are in harmony, right? And if you break that harmony, then you die, right? You can't only breathe in or only breathe out. But when you're born, you breathe in, and when you die, you breathe out. That's the way it is. So this Aiki, it exists everywhere already, and it's our task to reveal it to ourselves. Because it's always there, if we don't see it, we don't experience it, then it's because we're shrouded. We can't quite see it because of falsenesses that we have created in our own minds, for example. So the role of Aikido could be said also to remove the hindrances, to reveal the truth of Aiki. So the falls away, and the truth becomes apparent. Now, these words are kind of loaded, you know, what's false and what's true. I'm going to leave that up to you. But if you practice, you will see through your practice things that work and don't work. The things that don't work, you let them go. And the more they work, the more you'll understand the dynamics of the give and the take, which is existence, being. So even being is not alone. There's being and there's non-being, which is like life and death, perhaps. There's energy and matter coming from energy, and perhaps one day returning to energy. Think about a black hole. Let's use our lives as Aikido. We practice. It's important to practice so that we can let go of the false and embrace that which is true. When we do this, then your living becomes much easier. Conflicts are resolved, and when you have no conflicts within yourself, well, then you are experiencing Aiki. You have peace. So that's a little one about Aiki. I think I'll probably do another one about that soon. Peace.